Hey guys, this is Beck. Finally, we got an update about the much-awaited King of Fighters 15 that was announced more than a year ago at EVO 2019. This got me so excited that I needed to make a video about this good news. If you guys didn't know, I'm a big fan of the KOF series. To be honest, I like KOF more than Street Fighter. I bought more KOF games. I played KOF more than Street Fighter. I mean, you know the deal. The first KOF I played was KOF 97 in the arcades. I grew up in the arcades and I immediately loved everything about KOF. So anyways, let's dissect the teaser trailer for the actual trailer that will be shown on January 7th, 2021 JST. Take note that it's Japan Standard Time. So if you're in the America, like me, January 6th. First off, this teaser revealed the official logo for KOF 15. For me personally, I think it looks pretty awesome. Of course, the red and blue flames is a symbolism for Shunei, the now confirmed protagonist of the Verse Saga, which started last KOF 14. Like when the logo from the Ash Saga were mostly green because the main character was Ash Crimson. So in this teaser, we see the sketches of 3 characters. Well, actually there's Leona and K-Dash, my boy. But the main three characters shown were Kyo Kusanagi, Benimaru Nikaido, and Shunei. Shunei pretty much didn't change, but he didn't skip the gym this time, so he looks less emo now. I mean, he's still emo, but he's emo with games. Just not sure if he's still colorful emo, or they gave him a better color palette. A lot of people didn't like Shunei, mainly because of the design. Personally, I think he looks cool, and he's catered towards the hip Chinese Korean audience. I mean, he's in Team China. He can literally be inserted into a Chinese fighting game if you look at it, and he'll fit right in. But hey, they just need to calm down on the colors, and he's great, I think. And his new jacket is pretty dope. Speaking of Team China, I'm calling it. As soon as I saw Benimaru's new design when the trailer was released, I instantly saw him replacing Tung Fu Ru as Shunei's teammate. I really like Benimaru's new design and the lightning themed accessories. Really cool. But yeah, Benimaru will be on Team China. I think it's logical since Benimaru was almost consistently a part of the protagonist's team every saga. He teamed up with Kyo in the Orochi saga, with K-Dash in the Ness saga, and I predict now with Shunei, I mean it makes sense. I mean he didn't team up with Ash, but you know, Benimaru almost always teams up with the main character of every saga of King of Fighters. Last one, oh boy. Last one is Kyo, and I'm so glad that he got his signature look back. The headband is back. The headband is back. Just with that, I'm already hopeful of everything KOF 15. KOF 14, I literally thought Kyo was not included in the roster. That Kyo in KOF 14, we're all in agreement that guy didn't exist, okay? Okay? It's Bieber Kusanagi, but you know, that's a bad memory. But man, everything about Kyo this time is on point. It's a mixture of his KOF Orochi saga attire and his KOF 13 black jacket attire. Those are the 2 best Kyo Kusanagi costumes for me, so combining them is a very good decision. Oh, his flaming Kusanagi sun symbol is back. So it's really going back to the roots for Kyo, but not entirely bringing him back in a school uniform, which I really like. I mean, since we are talking about Kyo, I hope they do the same for Iori. You know, like bring back the crescent moon aspect of his attire, but not bring him back entirely to that Orochi saga Iori costume. I really love Iori's attire in KOF 13 as well, so maybe like that with a crescent moon at the back. I love it. Judging from this alone, what we saw in this trailer and some of the things they said, I think they are picking the best things and mixing it, you know, with the new ideas. I feel really good about KOF 15. Well, aside from the teaser video, Oda and the creative director, Eisuke Ogura, made some vague but interesting and bold comments about what we can expect from KOF 15. Let's watch a few of them here.
小倉さん、最後に初公開を楽しみにしているファンの皆様に向けてメッセージをお願いします。
はい、前作をはるかに超える自信作に仕上がっておりますので、 KOF15 ぜひご期待ください。よろしくお願いします。
That's a pretty big but vague statement right there. What do they mean by most ambitious? I do think two things. They're aiming really big on the graphics and the roster. I'll tell you why. They have the KOF gameplay down. It's not about the gameplay, so they don't need to be ambitious about it. KOF was always fun to play in terms of the gameplay and the mechanics. KOF is always fast-paced. You're always on your feet. It's a good fighting game. You know, even the max mode I think would be a staple. It makes for a good combo system. Another aspect they don't need to improve is the marketing. They are already doing a good job, I think. KOF is well accepted everywhere except in the West because, I don't know, I might make a video about it, but my point is KOF get their target market on lock in Asia, in South America. You know, KOF is really big except for the West, specifically America. I mean, why? Because what do most gamers in America care about the most? Graphics, right? I'm just saying. But what is the biggest weakness of SNK? Also graphics. So if they're going to be most ambitious, what do they aim to be great at? Ding ding ding, you know, yes, graphics. And you know, KOF wasn't received that well, graphics wise. It turned a lot of people off. But you know, when they released Sam's Show, it was a success. Mainly because, you know, it's Sam's Show coming back. But aside from that, the graphics was way better than KOF 14. I would also assume that was the first time they used Unreal Engine, and it was a big difference. SNK gameplay wise, it's always top notch, or at least good or great, you know. But the problem of SNK is the graphics. And the problem is that they were very good at using sprites. I think SNK is the best sprite work of any company ever. But, you know, they focus on that so much, they got left behind. Even Eisuke Ogura, you know, the creative director, admitted it. So whenever they tried to push for 3D, it's a total fail, like Maximum Impact. It didn't look good. KOF 14, people didn't like it. Because they were so deep on the sprite art that they got left behind on the 3D aspect of game development. But I predict that KOF 15 will be the best looking KOF ever, and that's including KOF 13. I'll tell you why. First is that they realize that they can't stick to sprite art, which they admitted is bad for their pockets and it's time consuming. Second is the backlash of KOF 14, which probably pushed them to really find a solution. And third is the evidence that they are getting better, not just on 3D modeling, not just on using Unreal Engine, but also implementing cell shading. Samurai Showdown is the evidence that they found a solution and that they are comfortable with that solution. So when they said a most ambitious KOF ever, I think they are referring to the look of the game. They are aiming that this KOF will be the best looking KOF thus far. In terms of me saying the most ambitious KOF in terms of roster, KOF is already well known for having big rosters and different overlapping plot lines and universes, so KOF was always ambitious. But this time, it is very ambitious. I think KOF will have the largest roster in any KOF in existence. So if you're looking for, you know, evidence or proof, I mean, just look at the story of KOF right now. It's bonkers. So we can't just dismiss something, you know, even a crazy idea, because SNK made it crazy themselves, and I don't think they would do it if they don't have a plan for it. KOF brought everyone back to life. So this is basically open season. If KOF doesn't have the biggest roster ever, I guarantee you KOF 16 would have the biggest roster ever, because they would add some more characters to what we would have on KOF 15. It's exactly what they did with KOF 12 and KOF 13, but the difference is that they're doing HD sprites back then, which is, as I said, time consuming, and now they would be using a much more efficient 3D models. They even told us to fire up those, dream rosters. They're completely overhauling the roster system, and they're having fun with it, so it's great news. Now, in terms of dream rosters, I'll get to that in another video probably, but let's go back to graphics. So what I'm predicting for the KOF graphics would be an almost Guilty Gear-ish style of cell shading. Yep, 2.5D cell shading, anime cell shading to that extent. I'll tell you why. So let's go back a few weeks ago when Jakusuke Oda updated us about KOF15 and why COVID-19 kind of fucked with their development, and here's what he said.
3D グラフィックスでは光と影の処理を行うシェーダーのシステムがグラフィックの品質に大きく関与します。毎年新たなロジックが生まれる業界ですので、常に最新技術を勉強するように心がけています。次の KOF15 もとても魅力的なグラフィックスになっています。KOF13 のような 2D ドットという技術は最新ハードには向かないと思いますが、セルアニメのような方法には魅力を感じています。
So they know that people really like KOF13 graphics. I mean, he specifically mentioned it, and he also said that it stood the test of time. It didn't look old. Now they have a way to do it efficiently too. So they found a good look. They know that people like cell shading. Now they learn how to do 3D, which they know is more efficient than HD sprites. I honestly thought at first that they would go full KOF13 shading. I mean, which is fine. I'm not a big fan of some of the character proportions like Takuma and the girls and the super muscular guys. I'm not a fan of proportions, but I'm like, okay, if they want to go KOF13 style, that's fine. But with the release of this teaser and we saw the sketches, I think they're really going for the Guilty Gear direction, man. So, and they might have been aiming to do that for a while actually. See, Guilty Gear first used cell shading technique back in 2014, 2015, around that time. Now, Guilty Gear blew everyone's mind how insanely good the graphics look like. KOF 14 was released 2016 after Guilty Gear, you know, and the graphics blew everyone's mind how atrocious the graphics look. So it's so bad they needed to patch the current graphics of KOF 14 with a new shader to make it moderately acceptable, but it still looks not that good, you know? Imagine you're on a date with an ugly as shit person and then all they did was put some concealer and foundation. That's literally what KOF did with KOF 14. The problem with that, you know, everything is done at that point. They couldn't really make any major changes. They already launched the game. They already shown what it looks like. They couldn't resculpt the faces because you would need to retopo it again and shit like that. You know, if you know 3D, maybe adjust some other things. There's just no time left. So if I'm in that position, I think the only option is to bite the bullet, push the product, fix the small things to make it better, you know, the shading that they updated, and just really make the next product better with better direction and better planning. They're not just going to sit on their ass once KOF 14 is released. They would immediately start planning for the next one, especially if the current one, KOF 14, is not accepted well. So now that I explained that, if you're not aware, in 2016, same time around the release of KOF 14, SNK's website featured their employees, they call it SNK Voices, staff voices, and one of them is Tomohiro Nakata, which is one of their illustrators. So he's the one drawing the concept arts or character designs, at least he's one of them. Well, I think you guys already know, it's pretty popular, but he was shown working on a Raiden model, you know, Big Bear, and it looks really good, like almost Guilty Gear level good, and the shading is anime style, hard shadows, the whole shebang, you know. And this Raiden really looks like it's intended to be worked on 3D. The shading is completely different from KOF 13, and this Raiden model, I researched about it, and it's never seen in any kind of media except from what this guy have on his screen. So it never went outside. I know some of guys would say that image is old, and second is this guy is not a 3D artist, so what are you talking about? That Raiden is definitely not the art of King of Fighters 15. And you're right, but as I said earlier, what if they knew the backlash of KOF 14 graphics and wanted to revamp the thing right away after? They would definitely need someone to do concept arts of the new characters or the art of the next iteration of King of Fighters, especially if the 3D artist would need to study how this kind of shading works, because it's just not simple nodes and UV wrapping. The process of creating a stylized shader is much more complicated than that. I'll insert some link for the Guilty Gear process. It's really complicated, so especially with someone that's just starting to learn 3D like King of Fighters SNK staff. Also, illustrators and 3D designers go hand in hand, and just because you're an illustrator doesn't mean you're going to exclusively work on illustrations. There's a lot of moving parts there, like in the creative art department. Sometimes the illustrator provides the base design for the 3D artist to follow. Sometimes the 3D artist would send a model to the graphics guy to add some things, for the UV wrapping part, so on and so forth. You get the idea, but sometimes a 3D artist is good at following a drawn model but doesn't really know how to illustrate. So am I saying that they would completely copy Guilty Gear's cell shading technique? Nope, not at all. But I'm confident to say that they are aiming for their own stylized cell shading, evidenced with a unique shading and look of Samurai Showdown. If you look at Samurai Showdown's shading technique, it's almost like cell shaded, but it's also like ukiyo Japanese sumie style, So if I have to guess, and I base it on the sketches shown on the teaser, and based on the Raiden thing that I showed earlier, KOF 15 will go for an anime look. I mean, not Guilty Gear per se, but kind of close to that. Also, look at Raiden's artwork and compare it to the sketches. It kind of matches, don't you think? Like, just give the shading of Raiden to the sketches that the teaser provided. It would really fit right in. The proportions, the look, they're really going for it. Aside from the release of KOF 15 official trailer on January, at the same time, we are also getting an update about the Samurai Showdown's Season 3, which we know is the last Blade character. In my opinion, there's only 3 choices, to be honest, and SNK is basing it on character popularity. It's either going to be Kaide, Hibiki Takane, or Akari Ichiju. Close probability of Moriya Minakata. That's about it. Now, if they literally want to do a crossover of Samsho and Last Blade and just combine them into one franchise, that's even better for me.
さらに KOF15 の情報公開に合わせて、サムライスピリッツシーズンパス3のキャラクターも発表します。先日ご案内した月下の剣士のコラボキャラクターはもちろん、新たなキャラクターも発表予定です。
It's gonna be Chom Chom, isn't it? Please tell me it's Chom Chom. But also still waiting for Genon, Nicotine, Seeger, and Kusaragedo. I love Kusaragedo, but they can wait until, season 4. For now, just give me Chom Chom, please. That's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna upload more KOF SNK content, and I'm working on a project that I think you guys would like if you are a fan of fighting games or King of Fighters in general. I hope KOF 15 delivers, man. I just love the game. I played it for years and I think it deserves more attention than it's getting. I hope SNK do a really good job with KOF so it can compete again with the other fighting games, and I'll see you all next time. Boy Taro.